Moon River.
Using the whole fist, Doc?
Just try to relax. And welcome back to the Retro Review. I am the Bearded Geek. Joining me as always is Mikey the Freak.
What's up?
And Steve-O.
Hey, everybody. What's going on?
Today we are going to
Oh,
be
And
reviewing...
Steve-O. Like,
Yeah.
it's so weird. Get out of here.
Jackass.
Bottle.
Today we are going to be reviewing the movie Fletch. Steve,
very
why don't
little.
you tell us a little bit about this movie?
Oh, man, this movie is great. I don't even have IMDb pulled up because I forgot once again that this is my flick. But it's a movie about investigative reporter, journalist, Irwin M. Fletcher. I am Fletcher because who wants to be called Irvin? Discovering a drug problem on the beach while at the same time being approached by Otter from Animal House to possibly murder him. In which we get many wonderful disguises. We get splurging of a 49-cent mouthpiece. And we get a bunch of little, I mean, you can call them little cameos of, well-known actors through the 80s and 90s. And that's, that's Fletch. He's 6'5", 6'9" with the afro.
That is true. So what was your first impressions of this movie?
Oh, I love this movie, man. I've been watching this movie since the 80s. Growing up, Fletch and even Fletch Lives has always been just a fun one. I was young enough, see, you could shake your head, but when you're young enough, you don't realize when a movie is just the shits. You just don't realize when a movie is just the absolute shits, right? So I absolutely love growing up. I really loved Fletch. Fletch Lives was a solid one. And I don't know. I've always loved the Fletch movies. And they're a whole lot of enjoyment.
It's Chevy Chase, man. It's all about Chevy Chase
Chevy
movies.
Chase in the 80s.
They're so amazing. There's so many freaking water bottles. That's so crazy.
I do. I don't have any behind my computer
screen.
For the people listening on audio, they're just tossing water bottles everywhere.
We're just tossing water bottles left and right. Five total for me, and I got one more when I finish this.
So yeah,
Mikey, tell me what you think of about.
Man, it is a classic Chevy Chase movie from the 80s. Slapstick comedy. I always loved the disguises. He gets to do all his old Saturday Night Live type stunts. You know, he's always that he's knocked down, fall, hits himself. He's always done that kind of comedic performing, even on Saturday Night Live, and he does it on this one. He hits himself in the face several times in this show or in this movie. But yeah, I mean, you got George Wendt.
Norm.
Yeah, it's it's so cool that he gets all these disguises, and it's kind of comedic. But in a sense, it has a seriousness. He finds out that the cops are corrupt, and there's a huge drug that they're pushing from South America and back.
We see Uncle Phil as a corrupt cop.
That's correct. Yeah. A young Uncle Phil. A young Uncle Phil. Yeah.
Lots of proverbial cameos. We get a very young Gina Davis.
Gina Davis.
What I mean? The father-in-law of Tim Matheson's character is Inspector Kemp from Young Frankenstein, and also the mayor from Police Academy 6. Don't mean to encroach on your territory.
Oh no, I didn't use him. Yeah, I love that guy. Stanley Boyd was his name.
We'll go with it.
That was in the movie.
Sure, yeah, Stanley Boyd.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, a lot of great actors in this one. But yeah, I mean, funny all around. A bunch of funny scenes. Some of the ones I always use is can I borrow your towel for a second? My car just hit a water buffalo.
Yeah,
I always love that part. But of course, if you don't have anybody that watches Fletch, they just like, what the hell you just say? And then his rendition of every Spanish, him talking Spanish through the entire movie is nothing but gibberish.
Yes.
Nothing but gibberish. And I use that on occasions to some of my Hispanic friends, and again they're just like, what'd you say?
Because they don't, because they
Never
haven't seen
mind.
Fletch.
I'm like, never mind. But great. Bearded Geek, what'd you think?
Yeah, it's one of those. It's a Chevy Chase movie, but it's not as wild as say a National Lampoon's.
Yeah.
He's turned the volume down a little bit on it to where it's not as slapsticky, which I enjoyed for this movie. It had a bit of a serious tone to it with the drugs and the corrupt
Mhm.
cops. So it did have a really good storyline to go along with the comedic value of the whole thing.
Yeah.
It had me laughing throughout. The disguises. My favorite one was the roller skating, bald, bearded Hindu dude or
Hari
whatever he was
Krishna.
supposed. Yeah, Hari
It was a Hari
Krishna.
Krishna.
Yeah, that was my favorite one. It actually took me a second to be like, oh wait, yeah, that's actually Chevy's because it was done really well. But yeah, it's just one of those movies that'll make you laugh throughout. Great storyline, shot very well. Recommend to anybody. How about we go into ratings? Steve, how would you rate this movie?
Oh, I love this movie. It's so funny. It's definitely on the top of the charts for like great comedies of the 80s.
Mm.
So for me, it's a solid, I'll give it an 8.5. It's a lot of fun. I give it a little bit of a lower rate just because of who Chevy Chase became, uh, or who he was the whole time. But I absolutely love this movie. Laugh multiple times every time I watch it, just because the jokes are so funny. Mikey the Freak.
Yeah, I'm around the same thing. I'm giving it a solid 8. I think it was uh, too serious of a Chevy Chase movie. Kind of that 25% comedy, 70 to me, it was like more of 75% seriousness. But I mean, everyone knows I'm a huge Chevy Chase fan.
Mm-hmm.
I'll sit and watch all of his good movies and his terrible movies. I still laugh at his terrible movies. But you get off the same way. I mean, you watch one Chevy Chase flick in the '80s, it's like you're
What
watching
would
all
you
of them.
can What would you consider a bad Chevy Chase movie?
Comedic or seriousness?
Well, I can't think of any serious movies he's really done. Comedic.
Comedic, not as good. Nothing but trouble. It's a good movie, but not as
Funny
yeah.
movie. Great
No,
cast.
I agree. I agree.
Directed by Dan Aykroyd.
Yep.
Digital Underground.
The
Caddyshack
one,
2.
I don't know. I like both
I wouldn't
Caddyshack.
even do that's
He's
that
not a
he is
he's
in
not
that
a huge
movie
character
for
in
all
two.
of 3 minutes.
Yeah,
He
he probably filmed
he
it on a
shows up.
weekend.
That's probably why.
Yeah.
I get you.
Dan
Okay.
Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd is in Caddyshack 2 more than Ty Webb is in Caddyshack 2.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
very funny.
moving
There's
on.
quite a bit out there that are kind of like not as hilarious
All right.
as you should.
All right.
Yeah.
I will give this movie I'll give it an 8, a solid 8. It's good, it's funny. It wasn't over the top funny. It wasn't, make me it wasn't that big boisterous laugh,
It
or
wasn't a Three
anything.
Amigos. I'll
Yeah,
tell
it
you
was
that.
not a Three Amigos. It wasn't.
Hey,
It had funny
hey,
parts.
hey, ah!
It had its
Oh,
funny
great!
parts.
You
It had
shot
its
the Invisible Man.
it had its we said, it had its serious parts. But yeah, a solid 8 for me. I have some movie interesting facts, trivia, whatever we want to call this segment now. I got to figure out a good name for it. Chevy Chase has mentioned.
Trivia corner.
Was that?
Trivia corner.
Yeah, Trivia Corner. There we go. That works. Chevy Chase has mentioned in interviews that Fletch is his favorite of his movies because it gave him the opportunity to be himself.
That's Saturday Night Live, man.
Yep.
I want to say so many things right now, but I won't.
When Mr. Underhill comes to collect the money for his lunch bill, Fletch searches for the time on his non-watch wearing wrist.
I do that all the time.
this is
Woo, I got
this is a trademark of Chevy Chase.
Yes, it is.
Let's see. Fletch tells a beach drifter in one scene that he feels like $100. This line is also said by Ty Webb in Caddyshack, a role played by Chevy Chase. And one more. You know what? No more. Steve, what do you have for movie soundtrack?
Oh man, so it's not a lot, but when you get down to it, you have the Fletch theme itself, which was written by Harold Faltermeyer. The theme for Fletch, which is actually Bit by Bit by Stephanie Mills. Name of the Game by Dan Hartman. Running for Love by John Farham. And A Letter to Both Sides by The Fix. And that's about it.
That's about it. All right.
Yeah.
What
Related reels!
So
With
I
Mikey
wasn't
the
going into
Freak.
Chevy Chase too much because I'm about to give you some of these movies that you guys can watch, and if you can find them anywhere, watch them and you let me know.
Okay.
So one like everybody loves Caddyshack, of course, right?
Of course.
So that's one of the movies everybody's got to watch. But Seems Like Old Times. That is an old movie from 1980. Not of his first movies, of course, but a very old movie that not very comedic. But Under the Rainbow, I've mentioned Under the Rainbow before. I like the movie. It has a kind of a spin-off of a Wizard of Oz type deal. And then Modern Problems. So Modern Problems is also like a nothing but trouble comedic. I'd say comedic type performance, but not as funny as you guys would think a National Lampoon's like European Vacation or Vegas or something like that. So try to find those movies.
Pop quiz. Pop quiz. What's your favorite National Lampoons?
Christmas.
Animal House.
I was going to go Van Wilder, but
I'm going Christmas.
I do have
that was like the last real good National Lampoon movie that we got was Van Wilder.
Van Wilder, yeah. And that was because of Ryan Reynolds. But I do have that on here. So speaking of Van Wilder, Tim Matheson. I have Tim Matheson on here. He is the dad of Van Wilder, so he is in National Lampoon's Van Wilder. He's also in National Lampoon's Animal House. I know Steve's favorite movie.
Otter.
And also Drop Dead Fred.
Fraternity president.
Drop Dead Fred.
I love Drop Dead Fred. If you guys
I'm your fella, Isabella. I'm your fella. I love Drop Dead. Who showed you that? The pigeons? The pigeons?
Bro, you guys Bearded Geek, have you ever seen Drop Dead Fred?
I've seen it like once. I don't remember it.
With Phoebe Kate. Oh my god, it is.
I gotta watch it
hilarious.
Again. Gotta watch it.
Funny ass movie.
It's great.
It's great.
Carrie Fisher's in it. Carrie Fisher.
Oh yeah.
Who's that?
I picked George Weiner. George Weiner. He's the lawyer that's trying to collect the alimony from Fletch. You literally don't see him but more than 5 minutes in the movie. He's in The Devil's Advocate. He's also American Pie 2, and then one of our favorite movies. He is Colonel Sanders in Spaceballs.
Colonel Sanders.
What's the matter, Colonel Sanders?
What's the matter, Colonel Sanders? Chicken?
Prepare
Oh God, we could quote that entire movie.
What's this? You call this coffee machine?
This
sir, we call
them.
it Mr. Coffee. Care for some?
You caught their stunt doubles.
You idiots! Find them.
Another movie we have reviewed on Back to the Retro Review. Go check it out. It's in the archives.
Yes, it is. We had just as much fun.
Yes.
Oh, I love Spaceballs.
Is that all you have?
That's it, man. I went with those three. I wanted to pick some Chevy. I've done Chevy Chase so much because, of course, 80s and 90s is all Chevy Chase. But I wanted to find some movies that are out there that you can try to look to kind of increase your knowledge of Chevy Chase's films.
Broaden your horizons.
Yeah.
The more you know. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Well, as we come to a close, Steve,
You're
where
not
can
telling
people
our
find
age.
you on your podcast?
That's the last podcast you'd want. Made available on every major podcast outlet platform. YouTube for your ears and your eyes, and tip the veal, try the staff. Thank you all for coming. Pew 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 pew.
If you're listening on most major podcasting platforms, check us out on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, check us out on most major podcasting platforms. But when you go to YouTube, make sure you give us a good old thumbing. Hit that like, subscribe, let us know what you thought of this episode and what movies you would like us to review in the future.
You can see what we look like on YouTube if you don't go to
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah,
Maybe
you may not want to see what we look like on YouTube. All right.
Stick with the listening
Yeah,
subscription.
yeah. As we come to a close for Mikey the Freak and Steve, I am the Bearded Geek saying keep it retro, everybody.
Peace.
Bye.